Welcome back to my channel. It has been 1 year since I first got my first flock of chickens. My first year raising chickens. So I learned so much, but the reason I initially wanted chickens was, one, I am a huge vegetable gardener and I've always wanted chickens. So I finally moved to a place that has no regulations on chickens. And so I was able to get them. I initially wanted them strictly just for egg laying and to use their manure. Like any sane millennial, I did tons and tons of research before I committed to this project. Some things I do impulsively, but this is one that I wanted to be sure I was ready for. So for the past year and a half before I got them, I was on the Backyard Chickens group on Facebook, researching all about, chickens. I have family members who have chickens. Of course, they all say it's easy. Then you join these forums and they have all these nightmare situations that you learn about, from pasty butt to lash eggs to a number of other things. And so I wanted to be ready and prepare that if I came across something like that, I can handle it. Initially, I wanted young chickens. I wanted pullets that were coop ready, that didn't need any heat, because I didn't want to deal with a brooder and raising little chicks. Dealing with chicks just felt so much harder. You had to give them heat, you had to be careful of all sorts of conditions like coccidiosis, pasty butt, splayed legs, a variety of other things, and I just didn't think I had the capacity to do that. But due to the avian flu last year, choices were limited and there wasn't really any pullets available, so one Saturday I committed and I went to a bunch of feed stores. Stop yelling at me! I went to a bunch of feed stores and most of them were out. One just got a fresh shipment. There was 4 breeds in there. In the brooder box was red. You couldn't really tell them apart. When you look at the Facebook groups, they always say, plan for more chickens than you intend to get because chicken math is real. I thought I was above chicken math, and that was all a lie that I told myself and that I believed. When I got there, I only wanted 3 chickens to start and then get another 3 next year because they do stop laying after so many years. I wanted to kind of space them out, and that's not what happened. I got there, I wanted 3. He told me, "Are you sure?" And to get a couple more just in case, so I got 1 extra, which when I got home, my Ameraucana over here had pasty butt. She looked drunk, tired, she couldn't walk, she didn't want to eat, didn't want to drink, and then I checked her thanks to my research, and she had pasty butt. And after I resolved that issue, she was perfectly fine, and look, all 4 are here a year later. When I first got them, they were super skittish, but I did treat train them. As you can see, it worked a little too well. And every day I would take them out in a covered little cage and let them have their little outside time to acclimate them to the weather. And we did this every day until they were 4 weeks, when I was finally done with them being in my garage and being dusty, that I stuck them in their coop, which is a prefab coop. Ow! And I just threw their heat in there. I threw a camera in there. I would check on them so many times a day, wake up super early, make sure they're all good. And then around like 6, 7 weeks, it was warm enough. They were all fully feathered. I slowly turned down the heat, and then I eventually took it away and started teaching them how to use the roosting bars. And ever since, they've been using that coop. When I first got them, did you just boot me? When I first got them, I was cleaning their coop every day, filling up their water every day, doing so many things daily, like an insane amount of tasks that I thought was sustainable because I didn't want their coop to get dirty. I thought all these bad things would happen if I didn't clean their coop every day. And then fast forward to July, I had gotten a severe allergic reaction to a medication from my doctor, which left me basically unable to function for a couple months. My skin was horrible to the point where it was super inflamed and anything was irritating. So obviously cleaning the coop was no longer feasible daily. So I started doing it once a week, and then slowly I started stretching it out, and then they started laying. When they started laying is when I realized the prefab coop was not working because the nest boxes, go over there. That's my favorite chicken. The nest boxes were next to the roosting bars, so after they poop, they walk into the nesting box, and then it makes the nesting box dirty. So that was the first tweak I made, was moving their nesting box to a separate location outside of where they sleep so that they aren't constantly stepping in it and making it messy. So that's one of the first tweaks I learned. Okay, ladies. First, looking into coops, you have options of thousands of dollars in like custom coops, and you got the cheap, what I would say crappy, like $100 to $200 coops. Go over there. And so what I did is I got an 8 to 10 chicken prefab coop for a couple $100. I painted it in urethane enamel, which I do not regret at all, which I think honestly saved the coop, inside and outside. And I reinforced all the corners with like corner hardware supports. And then I also added separate roosting bars than what was given, so it's higher off the ground. And as I told you, I already added additional roosting bars and nesting boxes. And along with that, I also buried cinder blocks 2 deep, and then I set the coop on top of those so they didn't always get wet. And there's a 3-foot predator apron around the whole thing and their run, which prevents any digging. And I also placed a ton of rocks on top of that, so you can't really get under that thing. So I did make it really secure, but what I do regret is that I just didn't build it. I should have just built it, but I wouldn't have known what I wanted. I got chickens following me. So when I got my Silkies, when chicken math hit, I built their coop. You can't really have a good look at it right now, but I built this from scratch from like random pieces that I already had around the house, and I just had to buy some hardware. And it was the best thing I could have done because I learned all the things that I didn't like about their prefab coop and improved it. So one of the biggest things is a big clean outdoor. 2 is having the option for deep litter method. 3, a completely separate nesting area from the nesting and roosting bars. And just that whole like good ventilation, easy to clean was a huge thing for me. I apologize, this video is all over the place, but kind of getting chased by these guys because I got their snacks. I ended up with 2 flocks. The Bantams are 2 pounds max, and my big girls are between 6 and 8 pounds, maybe even more. And it just doesn't work out with the personalities. The Silkies are really docile. They weren't raised together, so they are in adjacent pens, but they don't share the same run space. But they do see each other through the fence, and then I also let them free range together. But these girls don't actually want to come out right now. But generally they do free range together and they're fine. I did have one Silkie pass away from shock a couple weeks after we had, 2 months after I got her, because these guys kind of pecked her and then she froze. She never came out of it, never wanted to eat, drink, nothing, and slowly deteriorated. And that was my first experience dealing with Silkie shock. And so from then on, I kept them completely separate. So I know moving forward, I'll probably only stick with Bantams for a multitude of reasons. But right now, this setup works for me. So in conclusion, always, always follow the rule of go for bigger. Don't think that chicken math won't happen to you. And just go out there and do it. It's so fulfilling, and to me now the eggs are a bonus, and these are just kind of like my backyard pets. I hang out with them, I have coffee, and I just kind of watch them, give them snacks, and it's seriously been such a relief for my mental health and like mental load when you can just come out here and feed some chickens, like when you're feeling stressed or you just want to do something like that. So in addition to my garden, I also have my chickens, and it's just been really great, and I highly recommend it to everybody. So 1 year later, 0 regrets, things that I can improve, but there's always going to be room for improvement, and you won't really know until you start. So what works for me may not work for you. And once you get in the groove and you kind of figure it out, it kind of makes it easier to see like, okay, I can do this better, I can do that better, or this system would be better. And that's the fun in it. And they're in here, a little sneak peek.